Man, it was horrific. I remember opening this thing and just being like, everything I grabbed was like mushy and wet. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like puking in my mouth a little bit here. Hey mate, I'm Coach Mitch and welcome to the Unbreakable Man Podcast. It's my goal to help you achieve excellent results in the area of your health and physical fitness, your career or business, your relationships, and in your own personal passions. This is going to be your one-stop shop if you are the kind of man who wants to achieve his fullest potential in life. And the only way to do that is by becoming unbreakable. Hey brother, and welcome to this episode of the Unbreakable Man Podcast. Now in today's episode, this is going to be kind of fun actually, because I don't have any notes for this. This is all just going to be, off the top of my head. But I want to tell you about a personal story. And if any of my housemates are listening to this or watching this, then they'll crack up at this because they were there. But this is one of the most disgusting things I've ever done in my whole life. And it's disgusting in a few different ways. Firstly, the actual thing, like the action was disgusting. But the whole situation and the way I handled it was also disgusting. And I'm telling you guys this because there is kind of a moral lesson attached in there somewhere, and we'll get to that. But I also am telling you this because I am so far from perfect, it's not funny. And because I am in my own ways a disgusting human being, and I make mistakes, and I get these things wrong. And even obvious things like this, you'll be like, why did you do that, Mitch? That's absolutely foul. But it's just how my brain works. Don't judge me, okay? So, this story starts out in the last place that I was in. And, they had two fridges. One fridge was my fridge, and the other fridge was the other two boys' fridges. And I can't even really remember exactly how this started, but basically my fridge just stopped working. Just slowly over time. Like, I noticed that my food was sort of going off way quicker than I would have expected. And things just weren't staying as cold, and then eventually the thing just went kaput. And this is the gross part of it. I can't even explain to you what was going through my head, but I think it was just really, this whole story is about avoidance, about sweeping things under the rug, about saying, I'll get to that. Next week, next Monday, I'll start that program and start looking after myself. I'll get to the gym or all that kind of stuff. This story is about what happens when you just keep kicking that can down the road. And this is a very, very clear and obvious story that happened over a couple of months. And that, again, is disgusting to think. Probably 2 months. So basically, this fridge stopped working. And again, I don't know what was going through my mind and why I did this, but I just didn't want to deal with it. I can't remember. I must have started using a different fridge or something like that. But we never, for ages, for at least a couple of weeks after this happened, we didn't take the fridge out of the kitchen. And I did not take anything out of the fridge from what was already in there. Again, I know, that's gross. That's such a dumb thing to do. Makes no sense whatsoever. I can't quite remember what was going through my head at the time and how I justified it, but that's what happened. For literally probably a good 2 weeks after this fridge had stopped working, it was still in the kitchen with all the shit that was in it when it stopped working still in there. And obviously, I think basically what happened was it got to the point where the fridge was gross enough, like it started to be a bit of a smell, that I was kind of like, I really don't want to deal with that now. Like every time kind of in the moment when I realized it was an issue, it was like, that can wait till later. That can wait till later. And that was literally a couple of weeks. And eventually it got to the point where, and this is also really stupid, but once it got to the point where we can't have this fucking fridge in the house anymore, all we did was just get one of the trolleys out of the garage and we just put it outside. I still didn't take anything out of this fridge, by the way. It was all still in there. And it probably sat outside for at least another couple of weeks. Yeah, again, I know how gross that is. Don't ask me why I thought that was okay, but at the time, somehow I managed to convince myself that it was. And so from the day when it actually stopped working, and it was already not good kind of leading up to that, like I was saying, things in the fridge were going off a lot quicker than I would have anticipated, and then it stopped working. From the day it stopped working to kind of the point where it was like, okay, something's got to be done about this, it must have been at least 4 weeks. At least 4 weeks, perhaps even another week or two on top of that. And again, it was just this avoidance of the issue. And I think in my mind as well, I was kind of thinking, well, one of my roommates is going to, is going to help me with this. It's going to motivate me to do it, or, is just going to say, hey, Mitch, go and sort this fridge out today. I was kind of waiting for that, I think. I think I was waiting for someone else to really take the lead on this, which is also not like me. But once again, don't ask me why, but I think that was a little bit of that in my mind was, someone else is gonna do something with this and help me out with it too. Like, for example, it took 2 or 3 of us to actually get this thing out of the house and just basically dump it on the concrete patio out the back. But it got to the point where I was like, there's this stinking fridge in the backyard, and it's so bad now that you really don't want to open it because you don't want to find out what it looks like in there. It's like a horror show. You don't want to open the closet door to see what is lurking in there. It was kind of like that. So again, for this kind of talk on avoidance, right? About how we have a little problem initially that we could solve right there on the spot, but we go, I can wait till later. It's not really convenient right now. I don't really want to deal with that right now. I can wait till later. And then that little problem eventually becomes quite a big problem. And now avoiding it becomes the reason for avoiding it changes. Initially, you're avoiding it because it's annoying and inconvenient. And now you're avoiding it because you genuinely don't want to do it, because solving that problem is going to be fucking hard and really challenge you and be, in my case, disgusting. But look, at the end of the day, especially in this particular situation, it got to the point where it could no longer be avoided. And I could not look to my roommates for any help or any support in this, because it wasn't their problem. It was my fridge and I had to sort it out. And I remember there was just one night. I got home from work, it's like 8:30, and I'm like, tonight's the fucking night. I'm sorting this fucking fridge out, it's happening, we're getting rid of it. I can't, because here's the thing too, with this particular thing, was something that it was always in the back of my mind as well. It was like, I was aware of this problem, I knew that I needed to fix it at some point, and it was going to have to be me to fix it, but I kept pushing it down the road. But the problem is, it continued to be a thing in my head, and there was no way it was gonna ever leave my mind until I finally did what I needed to do. And the same goes for so many other things in our lives. So I remember I got home from work, it was like 8:30 at night, and I'm like, I'm fucking dealing with this fridge now. This thing is fucking going. I can't deal with it in my life anymore. It's got to be gone. And no shit, this is exactly what it was like. I pulled one of the big green bins round to the back of the house, put it next to the fridge, and essentially the plan was to take every gross, disgusting, molded, just nightmarish, what used to be food from in the fridge, get it into the bin, because it was stinking out everything. And this is exactly how I looked when I was doing it. I had super thick rubber gloves all the way down to the mid forearm. I had a peg on my nose to stop the smell. And man, it was horrific. I remember opening this thing and just being like, everything I grabbed was mushy and wet, and I was like, oh my god, I'm puking in my mouth a little bit here, just tossing it from the fridge into this bin. Just fucking do whatever I can to get rid of this shit as quick as possible. I remember I vividly remember, because the freezer still had shit in it as well, right? And, those things are meant to be frozen, and those things were inside a metal box outside that was no longer a working refrigerator. So they were even more disgusting than what was in the fridge. I remember grabbing an ice cream tub and dropping it before I got it into the bin. And, it was it was once cookies and cream ice cream, but what came out of it was not cookies and cream ice cream. It was It was like, man, I don't know, just some like alien sludge. It was like the thing that venom is made out of, basically, and it was just kind of spewing all over the back patio outside. It was fucking horrendous. But eventually I managed to get everything in there, and I didn't care what I was throwing in there. Like, it didn't matter if it was like, nice glass Tupperware containers. I don't give a fuck. Let's just get it in this bin. Let's get this done. I want it out of my life. I'm done with it. I'm over it. And eventually I managed to do that. And I decided to do it on that particular night because the bins were getting picked up the next day. That's why I did it on that night. It was like I planned it like that, so that way I could just put the bin out the front of the house, and then just have the bin man take it, toss all of this disgusting shit into the back of the bin truck, and get it as far away from my house as possible. So yeah, so finally did that, and we still had this reeking, disgusting, broken fridge out the back, but thankfully at the very least all the food was taken out of it and in the bin. And then the fridge probably ended up sitting out there just by itself for probably a couple more days, and we finally got it to the tip. And I'm so happy that the guys at the tip don't really care what state these things come to them in. I gave it a bit of a spray down with the hose and everything, but yeah, it was foul. It was absolutely fucking foul. But I can tell you that once it was done, once it was out of my life, man, it was so nice. Just this fucking weight off my shoulders. I didn't have to deal with it anymore. Didn't have to think about it anymore. The other boys didn't have to deal with it anymore. And it was a great decision. I just wish I'd made it like a month and a half earlier. Don't ask me why I didn't. I will never do that ever again in my whole life. But that is one of the most disgusting things that I've ever done. And there's a really great analogy that kind of describes this whole avoidance mindset that I think we all can get into sometimes. And that analogy is the analogy of the feather, the brick, and the bus. And what this analogy is really talking about is when something's happening in our life that it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is something we probably should work on. Life lets us know about it in very subtle ways. At first, life kind of tickles us with a feather, just to let us know that, hey man, you might want to have a look at this. This isn't. It's not the worst in the world, but probably should fix it. And life starts out by just tickling us with a feather, like my fridge kind of slowly dying. I'm like, oh, that's going to be an issue at some point. We should probably fix it. But we don't often listen to life's little feathery tickles. Okay, that doesn't cause us any pain. Doesn't really inspire us to change. So then, we just kind of let it go. And then when the feather kind of stops working altogether, it's clear that we're not going to make a change when life tickles us with a feather, life throws a fucking brick at our face. This thing smacks us on the side of the head, and we're kind of dazed and confused. We're like, oh man, that wasn't fun. I noticed that now. I'm quite clear on the fact there's an issue here because I just got a brick thrown at me. But for some odd reason, when we get a brick thrown at us, it still doesn't seem to make us want to change. Like, that brick for me was the fridge finally going kaput and starting to smell a bit in the kitchen, after, in that first week or so. Like, that should have been fairly obvious. Mitch, let's get this sorted. Let's get this fridge out of here. This is clearly, it's done. It's not going to work. It's not coming back. Let's get rid of it. But we often don't listen to the bricks in our life. It's like if you have some issues in your relationship, and then those issues become arguments. Those arguments become, whole days where you don't speak to each other. Like, those are bricks. Those times where it's like, clearly there's an issue here, and for some fucking dumb reason, we don't seem to appreciate those issues for what they really are and how much of an issue they are. And it's only then does life hit us with a fucking bus and flatlines us and just says, look, you fucking idiot. We've been trying to tell you this whole time that you had a problem over here and you haven't listened to us. So this is the only way that we seem to be able to get your attention. So we're going to hit you with a bus. And that's kind of what it was like for me. Like, this thing is just stinking in the backyard. Everyone's having a shit time because of it. It's my fucking fault. And it's time to just man up and do the work required. Take the steps. Don't make fucking excuses. No, it's not anyone else's responsibility to help you out. If they do, great, but it's not their fucking responsibility. It's yours because it's your life. You know, this is like the guy who has a heart attack. He knows that he needs to start working on his health, but it takes having a fucking heart attack before he does anything. Or it's like the guy that gets handed divorce papers. He knew this whole time. He's not surprised. He knew that his relationship wasn't great. A divorce paper it doesn't shock anyone. Mitch, you might have thought you had more time, but you knew things weren't right, and you did fuck all about it, and that's why you're in this situation. So the lesson here, lads, is ideally, listen to when life tickles you with a feather. Listen to those little nudges that just go, hey man, just maybe take a second look at that and let's just see if there's something we can do better. Ideally, listen to that. If you don't listen to that, then at the very least, when someone throws a brick at your face, recognize that that is the time to make a considerate change in the way that you are doing things. Because at some point, you are going to get hit by a bus. It will not get better on its own. It's only going to get worse. And it's only going to make your life worse until you change it. So, as men, we are fucking great at avoiding things and justifying why we do so. And a lot of the time, the thing that we're avoiding is making ourselves better, doing the work on ourselves in the areas that you know that you aren't that good at, doing the work in the areas that we struggle with, that we are insecure about. All this shit that we sweep under the rug and act like isn't important is fucking our lives up every goddamn day. The stinking, disgusting fucking fridge sitting in the background of your life. And it's not just making your life worse, but it's making the lives of everyone who interacts with you worse too. So I hope that story was not just entertaining for you guys, but also really got my message across. And, if you have anything like that in your life, I mean, hopefully you're not as stupid as I was and let a fridge go rotten, basically, over the course of a month. But if you are avoiding anything in your life right now that you know you need to take some action on, what is that thing? Comment down below. I would love to hear this. Or if you'd like to even send me an email and we can have a conversation about it, you can get in touch with me at mitch@unbreakableman.com.au, and we can have a discussion around the things in your life that you know you need to change that you haven't been changing. All right, mate, with that said, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I can't wait to see you on the next one. Hey, mate, I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Unbreakable Man Podcast. If you did, it would be absolutely fantastic if you could leave us a 5-star review, because that's going to help us get our message in front of more men who need to hear it. Now, if you have some feedback for me, I'd love to hear that too. Comment down below. And if you just need some mini doses of Unbreakable Man motivation throughout your week, then you can follow us across all social platforms. On Facebook, it's Unbreakable Man Challenge. On Instagram, it's Unbreakable Man _challenge. And on TikTok and YouTube, it's just Unbreakable Man. Your support would be absolutely invaluable. Now, last but not least, do not forget, men aren't born, they're built.